You are listening to Lovely Talks Heavy. Hello everybody, and welcome to Lovely Talks Heavy. I am your host, Lovely, and I discuss everything I enjoy with regard to heavy music. I wanted to start this episode by saying, number one, we're back to the regularly scheduled content, RE heavy music. I know that not everyone is keen on artists like Kendrick Lamar, but at that point, I was just super duper excited for what I can certainly say is the greatest film ever of all time, Black Panther. Number two, I literally just implied this 1 second ago, but Black Panther was a good-ass film, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. The humor, nuance, relatability of literally every single Wakandan character. The number of times I wanted to cry, but I didn't because I was wearing 20 pounds of makeup on my face. The excellent soundtrack, how great. This version of Ulysses Claw was a villain, as a villain, I should say. Good job, Andy Serkis. The fine-ass thickness of Winston Duke as M'Baku. Yeah, I'm just listing out a laundry list of shit I liked about this movie, and if I list anything further, I would just end up giving spoilers, which I'll refrain from doing because I'm not that kind of person. But I will encourage you, if you haven't already, to please do go watch this excellent film at least 50 times. That's not too much to ask. It's like the bare minimum amount of work you could be doing 50 times. But anyway, this does conclude my review of Black Panther, and thus begins the actual content of this podcast episode. To close out the month of February, I am building a playlist, but in a manner a little bit differently than what I normally do. When this month opened up, Kim Kelly, a journalist I follow on Twitter, posted a thread of bands with Black members since it is Black History Month. Users responded with some more bands with Black members, and one of them, Jaleesa Spooky, responded with a link to a website called BlackWomeninRock. If you're unfamiliar with any of the bands that were listed in this thread, it is quite a goldmine of opportunity to try new and different sounding music. In this episode, I will be highlighting some of the bands that were listed in Kim Kelly's thread, as well as the Black Women in Rock website. Instead of listing just songs, I will talk more about the bands themselves, and hopefully by the end of this episode, you will have a well of music that you'll want to check out. So, let's get into it. Militia Box is a New York City-based musician, probably most notably known as the vocalist for the all-woman Judas Priest tribute band, Judas Priestess. On top of that, she has been a personality on many a TV channel. She's performed with the likes of Living Colour, Dee Snider, Doug Pinnick, and more. She's a woman who stays busy. She came to my attention years ago when I saw a Metal Hammer article that covered a mini documentary that she was featured in that discussed racism within the heavy metal community. She, along with Lena Dawes, author of the book What Are You Doing Here?, shared their experiences as Black women who love heavy metal. It was really cool to me in this time when I still felt a strong connection to an identity strictly of womanhood to find Black women who, like myself, were not only fans, but more importantly, creators within the heavy music genre. Metal is a genre that I do love, but it can be a bit disheartening to not see too many people who look like you even just appreciating and loving the music. Seeing this mini doc for the first time, it really sparked something in me to examine my identity as a Black person and what that also means to be a fan of metal. Unfortunately, it seems that this mini doc is no longer up on the internet. I've looked very extensively. It's a shame because I enjoyed it and would have loved to revisit it for this episode, and also because the metal documentary is the primary way that I've absorbed my understanding and knowledge of the genre outside of listening to the music and reading metal news articles. But aside from that, I've grown an appreciation for Militia Box, who maintains her upward and forward momentum in her creation and performance. Also, I appreciate that she has graciously allowed me to use her songs in my YouTube videos. Thanks again, Militia. A few notable songs by Militia Box include Born Out of Darkness, 46 and 2, and This Is She. This little segment will be a short one since King's X are a band with which I'm sure many people are familiar, even if just hearing of them in passing. They formed in 1979, operating under a few different band names before evolving into King's X. They draw from a variety of sounds for influence, including gospel, and a main theme of their lyrical content is that of self-acceptance and struggle with religion. Doug Pinnick is a notable figure for me in the hard rock and heavy metal scene, having come out as homosexual and taking quite a bit of heat for that. But it's important not only to see people like yourself in communities and genres that you love, where it's not only one facet of your personality or identity, such as Black or such as LGBT, but also to see that intersection exist within people, so you have more than one of those facets that can be identified within yourself to be seen in other people, so you can really connect with the music in a way. I'm rambling, I'm deviating from the script, let's move on. But anyway, do get to listen to songs like Manic Moonlight, She's Gone Away, and Black Like Sunday. When I first heard of Unlocking the Truth, I couldn't have been more elated. At the time, they were just practically babies and performing heavy metal on the street. Of course, now, while they're still young, they've evolved and released an album and a single and gained loads of opportunities, such as opening for bands like Queen of the Stone Age, appearing on talk shows on national television across all time slots, and earning spots for some well-known brands. Their earlier music, when it was only available to listen to on their Facebook fan page, radiated a raw passion for the music that they played. Now, though, there is a more refined approach to their craft, and you can hear that in songs like Help Me, Come Closer, and My Chains. This next segment is going to be another short one, because you definitely know who Body Count are. You 100% know. I mean, if you somehow don't know, you at least know who Ice-T is, because you may have seen at least one episode of Law & Order SVU. And regardless, Body Count continue to offer a straightforward aggression in their music, with lyrics that deal with socio-political themes and the horrors of reality. If you haven't listened to their latest album, Bloodlust, you absolutely must. Beyond playing a few of their songs on my radio show, I didn't have too much experience with Oceans of Slumber before doing research and writing the script for this episode. I definitely did like what I heard when I played them, and probably meant to revisit them and examine their work, but this was an age where A, writing shut down was a lost art to me, and B, I was quite hyperfixated on Lordi. Nonetheless, this is a band that demands your attention. The album that stuck out most to me when first playing them on my show was Winter, due to the simplicity of the album name, and the album artwork that pulls you into the gaze of the eyes that lay upon it. Their latest album, The Banished Heart, is coming out March 2nd through Century Media Records and explores the personal darkness that members have personally dealt with. A few songs from it are already available for streaming, such as No Color, No Light and The Banished Heart. Zeal and Ardor are higher on the scale in terms of newness among the bands that I'm discussing today, and definitely higher on the scale of novelty. Manuel Gagno, the creative force behind Zeal and Ardor, beautifully blends black metal with the sounds of the blues and American slave chants. The sounds on the album Devil Is Fine are a testament to how worthwhile taking risks can be in mixing sounds and influences one wouldn't typically think to in this modern age. Despite the unlikeliness of the genres mixed together, like roommates with different tastes and personalities, I think there couldn't have been a more appropriate blend of sounds emerging here. Manuel takes the basis for all of modern rock and metal music, that is, the blues, and combines it with one of its most deviant derivations, black metal. I showed this band to a friend of mine, and at the time, we had the same thought of if Trent Reznor was black and started making music in this modern day, Zeal and Ardor would be the result, then we shared a laugh at the fact that our brains were on the exact same wavelength. But anyways, Zeal and Ardor are a new favorite for me, and you should check them out if you haven't already. My top recommended songs are Blood in the River, Children Summon, and Sacrilegium 2. Thank you for listening to this episode of Lovely Talks Heavy. If you enjoyed what you heard, please do share it with a friend. Every time this episode hits a new set of ears, it means the absolute world to me. Please do also check out the Spotify playlist featuring all of these bands that I mentioned in this episode and more. Get a good little mix of all of these bands featuring Black members. Did you find some new music to listen to through this episode? Or perhaps did you already enjoy some or all of the artists that I highlighted in this episode? Please do let me know and hit me up on social media, on Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, and Mixcloud. I am simply LovelyMetalhead. I'm adding this note here at the very end because it's been quite a struggle getting this episode out, and I apologize for its lateness. I've just been physically and emotionally unwell for this majority of this past week, and it was a struggle just getting to work on this episode and just feeling well enough to do anything with it. I apologize for that, and I also apologize for the fact that I'm going to be taking just a little bit of time off from this podcast to kind of build up a queue of episodes and really just kind of allow myself more time to focus on some of the subject matter I'm going to be talking about for future episodes. And thus, once I have that, queue built up, I can focus myself on other things and then, be able to build up that queue of episodes. But anyways, this is me rambling and editing this bit in at the last minute. Again, I apologize. I'm sorry for the lateness of this episode. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next week, well, not next week, the next episode, though, of Lovely Talks Heavy, you stay brutal, my friends. Bye.